Hello, everyone. So this is our Intro to Google Docs webinar. So it's going to be pretty basic. There's not a lot of structure to this. It's really to introduce you to using Google Docs, hopefully as a primary text processing platform. It's similar to Word, except it's all online. So that's going to be the main difference. And for those of you, if you would like to follow more along directly, if you already have a Gmail account, if you could log into that, or if you could make a new Gmail account, which I'll actually run you through the process of doing when we get started. So the first thing is, my name is Kana. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a membership clerk with Gsuite. I've been a clerk since I believe the summer of 2018. And I've been using like Google Suite, Google apps such as Google Docs, Google Drive, etc., for about 8 years or so, since about 2012, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm not totally certain on the exact dates. That's okay. I'm experienced in this. That's really what's important. So right here, this is actually what Google Docs looks like. This is a new document on my Gsuite profile. So it says Untitled Document. I just want to show this as like my intro thing instead of using a slide. But we're actually going to start with making a Gmail account. So a lot of you may already have a Gmail account, but we are going to start here with, just a moment. We're going to start here with actually making your own Gmail account. Okay. So you need to move something out of the way. There we go. So I'm going to click create account here, and I'm going to say for myself, you can make a business style account or an organizational account. That's a little more complicated, and potentially someone could do like a webinar on talking about like Google Business Suite and things like that, which is actually what we use here at Gsuite. But we're going to talk more about using a personal account. So this is going to be Kana Gsuite. Gsuite is now my last name on this. And perfect, it gave me the exact username I wanted. And I'm just gonna make a random password here. This account's only gonna exist for this webinar, so it's all good. And then next. And sometimes it'll do a verification thing. I don't know if it's gonna require this, but I think instead of using my phone number, I'm just gonna use this other email. However, sometimes it may require you to actually use a phone number to verify. If that happens, it really just needs to send a text. And then, let's see, this should be good. And this is sort of some privacy information. If you want to read through this, please do so. It's a little bit easier to read than some other things. I'm okay with Google having this data, but it is important to be informed on what's actually happening with your data. Okay. I'm actually going to make this window a little bigger. It's going to take a second here. I'm going to actually look at our chat to see if there's any questions yet. Don't see any. You're welcome to ask any questions throughout the webinar. I'll try to answer them as I go. If I need to, we'll just save a question for later. So this is actually what happens when you first have your Gmail address. It's going to try to walk you through some tutorials. We'll just kind of show you what that looks like. I'm going to use this default view, but there's also comfortable, compact. This isn't super important. It really only changes what icons show up on an email. That's really all it does. And now we are here. You have a free Gmail address. So how do you get to Google Docs when you have a free Gmail address? It's going to be these 9 little boxes here that pop up, and you're actually going to click this, and this gets you access to all of your Google apps that are tied to your Google account, including YouTube, Maps. So if you are actually using these apps while you're logged in, it'll actually save that data to your Gmail account. But we're actually going to go all the way down. It says Docs here. Another way you can get to Google Docs is by clicking Drive, and I'll show you a little bit about Drive in a little bit, and I can also answer questions about Google Drive in general in addition to Docs. But we are going to make our first Google Doc. Okay, so you have this window. You're probably used to seeing sort of these introductory things, and I'm actually going to click this, take it to our thing. So it's going to show us some things where they have some blank template, or not blank templates, just templates that you can use. They're free to use, they're royalty free. I haven't really used a lot of these. I really do prefer formatting things myself, but these can be really useful for a lot of people, especially like this resume format. I've seen it before. It's pretty good for a basic resume format. And I'll actually show you a little bit more information on like building your resume and where you can find resources for like how to make it kind of look right, sound right, etc. So we're just going through that so you can see these menu options. And I'm actually going to click blank so that way we just get a blank document. And I'm going to go through some of the features here. So if you've ever used Word or even LibreOffice or other programs, most of what you see here is going to be pretty familiar. There are some differences that I'm going to highlight. So up here, you actually start a document before you ever get to name it. And if you type something here, so let's say, hello, attendees, and then you do that. If you click here, it's actually just going to name that document like that. And the typical typing and everything else is going to be pretty much the same as Microsoft Word. The main difference is that I see a lot of people when they start using this here at DoSpace is they get confused about where it saves. So it saves on the cloud, so to speak, which just means it's saved on a server somewhere. And it's pretty secure the way it saves. Every time you make a change, you can click right here where it says saving, and if it is saving, you can lose data if it disconnects in that moment, but it is constantly saving with every change you make. It doesn't do an auto save like every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes like Word does. It auto saves everything, or at least it tries its very best to save as much as it can, as often as it can. So you'll have this all changes saved in Drive. If you have some Google Drive documents already and you click this, this may actually take a long time to load because it's loading every single version of a page. So we have this version, which is what our current version is. And if we go back here, this is before we even typed anything. So it's saving every version of the document that it can think of as separate. And this is also telling you every time that it saves. So this is 2 minutes apart. So we're going to go back, but you can revert changes and things like that. And I'm going to actually go back one more time. I'm going to use their little resume template. And I want to use this one because it just looks a little cleaner. And I think that's going to be more useful for a lot of you. So this is a resume template. I'm going to still go through some of the features here before we start typing and looking at some of what this all does. So if you ever need to save a copy of this, this is really important. You're going to actually download it and you're going to have all these options. So most places you're going to want to download it as a .docx or as a .pdf. Most of these other file types you probably won't ever want to use. So you're probably going to use PDF or .docx. One thing to note is if you download it as a .docx, sometimes the formatting might look a little different in Word, and if you have like really specific formatting tables and whatnot, sometimes they may break when they get imported into Word. So you may just want to like download it, import it into Word, make sure it looks correct before sending it off in an email. If you download it as a PDF, the exact formatting is of how you look at it on the screen is how it's going to download. PDF is fixed. It doesn't change with other formats. You can do this email as attachment. One thing is when you email it as an attachment or attach in Gmail a file, it doesn't actually attach a file, it attaches a link to the file. And I'm actually going to change the share settings. So this is one way you can share stuff to someone. So you have the shareable link and now it's on. And I'm actually going to change this to can comment. And we're just going to leave this alone. It's not letting me scroll to it. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our Gmail. I'm actually going to email my moderator. Okay, Elizabeth. Actually, let me not email my moderator. Just thought about that. I'm going to actually email hello@dspace.org and test attachment. Okay, so most of the time when you're attaching a document that's physically on your computer or on a device, you're going to click this attach files. However, with Google Drive, you can also click this thing where it says insert file using Drive. So this inserts a link that also gives this person access to the file with however the settings are on that file. So right now, this is the only thing in there. So we're going to do insert, and it inserts a Drive link. And when I send this off to hello@DoSpace, that email, because I already changed the share settings, will have access to it. And then my moderator or whoever else can open it as they wish. Okay. So another of the features that are important is these add-ons. So most people are never going to use these add-ons, but they can be useful for certain things. So next week or the week after next week, I'm going to actually be running a webinar called Citing Sources with Zotero. Zotero is one of those add-ons where it just helps you put in a source. So if like you're writing an academic e-paper or like a blog post that needs sources list or anything like that, it can be really useful for things like that. Most of these add-ons are kind of weird and messy, so just only do a few add-ons that do a specific task that you need, and this can kind of help with some of the things that Google Docs doesn't do in comparison to Word. So this right here, we have a question in the Q&A. I use WordPerfect. What are the other forms to save besides Word or PDF? Let's see. Let me look up what WordPerfect is. I've never heard of this. So this looks like a program you have to pay money for. So it's definitely not a program I've ever used. But with Google Docs, at least, when you save it, you can save it as a .docx file, and you can save it as a PDF. It is compatible with Word. There just might be some formatting differences when you open it in Word. Since that said Coral WordPerfect, I'm assuming it's like a editor that gets more into the nitty-gritty of Word formatting, which is not something I necessarily do a lot. If I'm going to do something like that, I'll probably use like Adobe InDesign or Pages from Apple. That's usually programs I would use if I'm trying to get more nitty-gritty with formatting. But WordPerfect might be useful as like a formatting heavy program. So as far as other forms to save, so WordPerfect, I'm guessing probably uses all of these versions. So if we go to download, so it's open document format, it probably opens this. It's definitely going to open this rtf.txt. One thing with some of these other formats, they may not save settings in the same way. So that's sort of my caveat to it, but I've never used WordPerfect, so I wouldn't know those specifics. Okay, I think we have another question. In add-ons, do you need to know the program you want, or is there a selection that Google's offers? So I'm actually just going to go through that for you all. So get add-ons. It's going to take a bit to load. So it's showing all these little add-ons that are going to work with Google. And most of these I don't use. A lot of them are kind of confusing as to what they do unless you use those sort of things specifically. Okay. So it does have categories. You can browse through it. So if you're trying to find, like, you know what you want it to do, but you don't know the name of the program, you can definitely find some options. So a lot of things that I would use would be something that just cites for you. So like it has here EasyBib, Paper, Pile. I've never used a lot of these because I really use Zotero for most things. But there's a lot of things that help you cite sources and stuff like that. So that's the main add-on I see people use. There's also some add-ons that I think help you create indexes or QR code. A lot of these add-ons are very weird, and one thing to note is when you install an add-on, it may give some information to a third party, so just be careful of the add-ons that you're adding. Yep, so this is a really common one that people use, and I'll just add it, but I'm not going to show in everything of how it works, but this just makes a table of contents that links to your headings. It really should just be a feature in Google Docs, but you do have to do it as an add-on. So this is probably the most common one that a lot of people install. What do you use to add as pages? So that's another question. I don't know if I fully understand that question. So if you want to reframe your question. So there is Pages, the program, which is on Apple computers for free. And I'm not going to open it. And actually, is it on this computer? I don't think it's on this computer, but I could download it. So basically it's like Word, except there's a little bit more focus on like organizing shapes and things is the main difference between Word and Pages. Pages is better if you have like pictures and objects you're trying to organize, but it's not quite as powerful as like InDesign or Microsoft Publisher, but it's a good in-between and it's free on Apple devices. So I like using that and I've used it for a lot of things. If you're wondering how you add a page like in Google Docs, you actually just enter. That's all you have to do, just like Word, you just have to enter to get to the next page. And now we are on page 2. Okay, I think there's another question that popped up in the Q&A. WordPerfect translates Word to WP. There used to be a general basic text format, all Word. So today there is not like one universal format. Really, word processors have never really agreed on a universal format. However, RTF is typically the one that's going to most consistently carry formatting over, but it's not perfect. There's a lot of formatting things that RTF just doesn't really communicate across platforms very well. Let me click this so other people can see this. So I don't know a lot about WordPerfect and like what it specifically does. It's definitely not a program that I would ever see myself paying for because I can basically do everything I need to do in Google Docs. Even like I wrote my senior thesis primarily in Google Docs, and I would download it into Microsoft Word just to check formatting. But I did all of the work for my thesis, making resumes, et cetera, just in Google Docs, just because it saves to the email. I don't have to like worry about flash drives or the hard drive of a computer failing. I can access it anywhere. I can edit it anywhere. I can share it to someone and we can both edit at the same time, which is actually something I'm going to show you with my moderator. So yeah, let's see. Can you load as Pages doc rather? So Pages does have its own file format. Google does not download specifically to that format. And I'm actually not 100% sure what will happen if you take a .pages file and import it into Google Docs, because Pages has these extra formatting things that even Word doesn't have that may not import super well, but you can definitely try it out. But any of these things, so a .docs, .rtf, .pdf, all of these file formats can be opened in Pages. There might just be some formatting things you have to fix. And really that's with any conversion between two programs' file formats, is you often have to fix the formatting after it converts the file because it's just never perfect. Okay, so I think that's that last question. But as more questions come up, I'll get to them. So the really cool thing that I love Google Docs for, and I think Microsoft Word Online now has this feature, but it's not nearly sophisticated as Google Docs. So I believe my moderator is currently on the document. So, and I believe she is on comment. So whenever she would like to, she's welcome to sort of make a comment on the document or make a suggestion. So this is something that with typical desktop programs you can't really do, is there's this live collaboration. It's not super laggy, but there's a little bit of lag. So right now I can see that my coworker is down here. She's maybe typing something. It may take a bit for it to upload because it's only going to show the change once it's actually saved to the drive itself. But I can also change myself to commenting. So let's say I want to change it to suggesting. Commenting, it's the same thing. So now if I type this, like I want to make this Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, it actually hasn't changed this. It's made it a suggestion that someone on editing can then approve. So right over here, I have this approval thing where it's like, I can change this name to Mark Zuckerberg, and I can say no, or I can add a comment. So Google Docs is really geared towards collaboration, which is sort of the unique feature that Google Docs and other Google applications provide, is that level of collaboration. So I'm going to accept the suggestion, and now the name is changed to Mark Zuckerberg. So we have some comments here, so I can respond to this comment. Hello. And now I respond to the comment. I can also tag someone. So if you want to assign someone, you're actually going to click this, and this will assign someone to it. So if you're doing some co-working, this is super useful. And then if you are done with comment, you can resolve it. It does actually show up in a history, which you do here. So even if after you've resolved a comment, there's still a whole history of it. It just won't show up anymore. And I can resolve this comment. But then if I want to change someone's access, I can't change an anonymous access, unfortunately, but you can change someone's access to be editing, and they can directly edit a document while you're also on it. When you're doing that, you just want to make sure you're not in the same section, or else it may do weird things, because then Google's trying to like sync 2 different edits at the same time. But you can edit in different places on the same document at the same time. And that's really useful. Another thing with suggestion, so if I want to type something new, like I want to say that my skill is Gsuite, Microsoft Office, Apple devices. Those are some of my skills. So, and I'm making that suggestion. And let's say there's an error, like I'm going to go back here, and someone's typed in membership Circ. So it's supposed to be clerk, but you're someone like who's helping someone else with their resume, and then you can just be like on the suggestion mode. You can just type over it, no worries. Maybe they really want that other spelling, and then you can accept the suggestion. This is really useful. I've had people who like help me on my resumes and other documents, and I literally just share the suggestion link, and then they can type freely without any concern that they're going to mess something up. And then I just accept or reject suggestions. And I've done this for other people as well. So this is probably the coolest feature. Is it's like, let's say someone wants to help you with their resume, you can just send them a copy of your resume that has that file permissions. They can change themselves to suggesting, and then they can just sort of type in what they think is a good suggestion without actually directly editing your document, and then you have the control over that. So I think that's honestly the best feature about these Google applications, is the kind of collaboration it allows you to do. I just wanted to sort of demonstrate how that looked. And I can answer any questions on Google Docs. I would say that was sort of my main things. If there are specific questions you have, I can answer pretty much anything about Google Docs or navigating through Google Drive, which I'll actually show you here in a moment. Also, the only reason I'm on incognito is so I can be logged in 2 different places at once. There's nothing sketchy happening here. So you can submit questions to the Q&A, or you can submit them to the chat, and I will read them away. So, but while we're doing that, I'm just going to show you Google Drive, because this is the other thing that's really helpful. If you are part of an organization, a lot of organizations actually use Google Drive, even if they're not using the business side of it. It's going to take a second to load. So right now, it has some documents that are default. So it has this first one that just says hello attendees, the resume document, some things like that. And then if someone sent you a file in your email or whatever, and it's a Google Drive link, it'll actually show up in this shared with me. I have not had anything sent here, but that's where you'll find that. So this is really cool because it works just like a flash drive. It's similar to Dropbox, things like that. So you can make a folder, let's say folder career development. Nice. Okay, so now I have this folder career development, and I am going to, let's see, don't want the quick access. So I can drag resume and I can put it into this career development folder, and it's here. So there's other Google applications such as Google Sheets and Google Slides. I don't use Google Sheets for a lot of data stuff. I use it more for just general information. So if we might get someone else to present on using Google Sheets, similar to how we have an Excel Basics course. We just don't have someone on that yet. And I don't know if it's next Wednesday or the Wednesday after that, there will be a presentation on Google Slides. Okay, Q&A. What icon are you clicking for mutual collaboration? So there's a couple things you can click. So you can share it to someone. So you have these share features here. And this is where you're actually changing these settings for what people do. So right now it's changed on comment, but I can change it to anyone can edit. And now Elizabeth, my moderator, she should be able to actually edit it. I'm not sure if it'll sync properly since she's on it, but that's okay. But the actual thing when you're changing this, so if I get on someone else's document, and actually I can probably show that. Give me just one moment. So this is a document from my work email, and I can share it to this email I just made. Okay, Kana do space at gmail.com. And it's going to be on editing. Okay, you'll get this notification whenever there's something like you're part of an organization but someone's out of it. I'm used to seeing that message. I usually just ignore it because I'm usually just sharing it to another email of my own. So that's what happens when you send a document. And now we're going to open in Docs. So this is a document that belongs, it's owned by a different email address, but now I'm on it. And because I set it to editing, I'm going to be default to editing, so I can directly edit this while my other account, don't need that, while my other account is on here. And you can see my other account, this is where the cursor is on that other page, and I can add something like hello. But I can change this to suggesting, so let's say like I can do that, and I want to make a comment of saying, you should change this, which is a weird comment to make because it's just my job title and where I work. And now when I go back to my other account, I'm like, this comment's weird. I don't like it. Resolve. The comment's gone. So that's sort of how that works. And then let me close this question. So someone asked about recorded sessions. So I should have actually mentioned that earlier. So every webinar does get posted onto YouTube. It does not get posted onto YouTube immediately. It can take a few days up to about a week, depending on how long it takes someone to actually edit the recording after it's completed. If you go to our YouTube channel and you're subscribed to it, you'll get the video when it's posted. You can also just check later. You can ask us in chat when it's available, but we won't be able to like send you a specific link of when it's available. Okay, so we'll click onto that. Let me check back in the chat. Okay, I do see that Elizabeth also responded to someone in chat about that. So someone said, I have had trouble with I believe that person meant Google Drive, like file, upload, and share. So I am going to download this file just so I can show you. So this is from so this left window is from my work email. And the other email is the one I made just for this. So I'm gonna actually download, and we're gonna download it as a Microsoft Word document. There's not really any formatting, so it should be perfectly fine. And it is downloaded to my computer. And now if I go in here, they love the pop-ups. Okay, and then file upload. And then if I go to my downloads, let's see. Let me look at what it named it. I think it's this document right here. So one thing is when you upload a Word document, it will not let you directly edit it. Oh, let me get out of that. It's only going to let you view it. If you click open with Google Docs, that's when it's actually converted the document. So right now it's converting it. There wasn't a lot to convert, so it didn't take very long. And it looks exactly the same. You're going to note that it doesn't have like the other person's icon. We're going to click out of this or anything like that because this is a completely new document. It's just letting us edit it and we can download it again. Is there a specific issue you were having with Google Drive and like file uploading and sharing? Because I can get more specific into the share settings if you had a more specific question. So here, there is this get shareable link, but you can also click advanced. And this is where you can get a little more specific, like if you want to only share with a specific email address, and it is just by email addresses that you do this. So if I want to add back my work email address, and I would recommend just doing this notify people every time. You don't need to put an email, you don't need to necessarily put in a message, but because they may not see that the documents even appeared unless they get this notification. So we're going to send this. And you can even change ownership if you really want to. Let's see, can you please show again how to move the file to the folder? Yeah, so Google is going to do drag and drop for the most part, but there is another way to do it. Okay. So right now I'm in my drive, and you can ignore this quick access thing. These aren't going to drag. So when you're over here, everything over here is going to drag. So this is a random PDF that just is in your Google Drive when you're there. So if you click it and you just pull it around, you can move it like that and mouse it over the folder and drop it in. So it works pretty similarly. It might work a little bit different if you're using like Safari or Firefox or even Internet Explorer. The dragging may not work. So if you need to, when you click on the file, okay, we're clicked on the file, we'll click this more actions over here, and then we can click move to, and then we've done the career development folder, it is moved, and then we go in here, and I'm gonna do this. You can also rename it if you want to. Getting started, what? That's fun, okay. So there's 3 questions in here. So it says, do you have a DoSpace work email address if you accept further questions post-class? You'll want to send those questions to hello@dospace.org. My moderator can put that email in the bottom, or you can use our chat feature. So most of our staff have used Google Docs so they can answer basic questions. If there's a more specific question that they think I should answer, they'll just forward that to me. But we don't provide our personal work email addresses out. We just use that hello@DoSpace address for everyone. How do we get to DoSpace YouTube? I'll also ask my moderator to post that, but I can just show you what it looks like when we go there. Another way to get to it is just going to our website, dospace.org. Then if we go down, there's this little online thing and you can chat here. And I'm just gonna say, ignore this chat. This is, because someone else is actually moderating or someone else, there's a real person behind this when this is open. So I just said, ignore this chat. It's me. I'm just showing that that's a feature we have on our website. And this chat's going to be open whenever our regular hours open. So we're not physically open as a building, but we're doing these digital services. So this is this chat service is something that we provide during those hours. So 7 to 9 on weekdays and then 9 to 7 on weekends. So one of our staff members just popped in. I'm actually just going to minimize it. It's going to show their name there. If I go all the way down, I can get to our YouTube page here. And this is going to be our YouTube page. So, and you're going to have some uploads there. Let's get out. And then your last question in the same thing was, can we create folders in Google Docs to file Google Docs, or do we move docs in Google Drive to file and folder? So I'm not sure about the wording of the question, but I think I understand what you're asking. So you can create a folder. So if you click new up here, and then you can just create a folder. So this is new folder. Yay. So this is a whole new folder. You can have pretty infinite subfolders. I don't think there's any limits on it other than the actual storage of your Google Drive itself. And then, let's see. You can also upload folders. So let's say you have a folder of Microsoft documents or whatever. You can actually upload that here, and you can upload other files. They're just not directly editable, like pictures, MP3s. Some of them may open and you can preview them, but you can't edit them in Google. Let's see, I have. Okay, so my moderator recommended for me to mention what happens when you send a Google Doc to a non-Gmail address. So I actually know what this does. It just sends them a link where they can view and edit it anonymously. If it's not shared, so if you share it as a link, it should just update that they can view it as a link. Otherwise, they can still edit it. So earlier you may have saw that it said like anonymous gator or whatever. So up here, you'll see all the people who are currently on a document. If someone's not currently on a Gmail address, when they open a document you've shared with them, it'll say anonymous and then a random animal. It's sort of this cute little thing that Google does. But so that's what it's just going to do. So you can still edit on Google Docs without a Gmail address. You just can't have a Google Drive with your own Google Docs. And for that to work, you have to have the share settings correct. So you have to do the shareable link settings, and you have to change this to like comment. And then anyone I send this link to, they can pop in the document and comment regardless if they have a Gmail address. So that's actually what works. And then I believe I answered the question on like how, I think my Q&A popped, give me a moment, my Q&A sort of disappeared. There we go. So I think that answered all the questions. Someone was apologizing for missing my answer. Don't worry about that. If you ask the same question twice, it's all good. I am not bothered. I really just care about getting the information to you all. So like if you want Google Docs to be useful for you, we're gonna make it as useful as we can. So yeah, no worries about asking a duplicate question, not a concern. Feel free to ask us questions. We love answering questions, especially when we might actually know the answer and know how to find that information. So was there a little more clarification people needed on anything such as the navigating folders, Google Drive, sharing settings? You can be as specific with your question. If there's something you're confused on that I already talked about and you just want me to review it again, just let me know. We can technically continue this webinar until 3. But if there's no questions, we'll just end it early. So any questions you have, feel free to share those with me. We'd love to answer those for you and get you whatever information is going to help you. Volume too low, change also. So the volume may need to be changed on your end. I can try to change something, but that is likely something. So my mic is actually at the volume it should be at, so that's likely something with your device. The only audio I have coming out of this is the microphone itself, so if you're able to turn it up. But the problem is if I turn up the mic too much more, it could start clipping for others, so I don't want to do that. Okay. Is there any more questions? So something I might show you all if there's no questions is sort of a preview to the Zotero workshop for those of you who might be citing sources, even if it's not academic. So I have this Zotero add-on and I can add a citation. So this is a really cool feature that they have that's now linked into Google. You just have to download it as like when you go to Zotero's website, it has this. So Zotero is similar to BibMe. It's just helping you cite a source in a document. So let's say I want to add the citation. Zotero, I have to have it open. I have done this before. I just forgot Zotero was not open. So now it should be perfectly fine. Let's see. Ooh, we got a question. One of my Gmail accounts has the 9 dots, but the other one doesn't. How do I get the dots on the other one? Huh. So for me, every Gmail account I've had has always had these. It may be something like if it's from an organization, there may be like an update thing, but the Google account should all be about the same. So if let me move here. I'm going to actually go to google.com. So it might be how you're logging into it. So yeah, for me, when I'm on here, these show up. But also, if that's not showing up, you might still be able to access your Google Drive or Google Docs, regardless. If you just type in Google Drive, and then you can actually just click it and it will go there. So if you're not able to find that as directly, it actually wasn't the link I wanted. So I believe what we want is drive.google.com, and that will get you to your Google Drive. So if that like 9 dots thing, or you're just not able to find it by clicking, you can just type in like drive.google.com. And I believe docs is just docs.google.com is my guess. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Okay. The dot are different on my computer versus iPad. Yeah, so the program might look a little bit different. So you can type in that link manually if you need to. There should still be a way to access it. Let me look. So like on an iPad, I'm probably not using Safari or Google Chrome to get to it. You can actually download the apps themselves, which if you're using an iPad is what I would recommend. So on my iPad that I use for work here, I believe I do have Google Docs, and it's its own application that I open up. You just have to log in your Gmail address and then it's fully connected. It really does just work about the same as it does on a desktop. So yeah, oh, I didn't do the showing the question live. So yeah, it works on iPad. You can also install it on other devices. I've used it on my phone. When I use it on my phone, it's usually more to like check like the daily schedule for work. So like I can pull up the Google Sheets, and then we have a document that has our schedule, so I know where I need to be at a particular time. But you can also edit it on your phone. Some older phones might have more trouble editing or creating documents on Google Apps, but so I have like an Apple 10R XR, and it works pretty easily for me. So, but some older phones might have some issues. So that's the only thing. But as far as like a way to get the 9 dots to show up, it's not really about the 9 dots. It just may have a different way you navigate to it. And if you don't see that, the iPad may just not show that. So like you may be using the Gmail app on your iPad, so it won't link directly to your drive. You just need to download the other app for Google Docs, Google Drive, so you can get through those things. And then on Google Drive, if you only have that app open, you can view any document, you just won't be able to edit them. Okay. And feel free to ask more questions. I have all of that open. I'm just going to show this last thing. It really wants me to sign so many things in. So this is what's going to happen a lot of times when you're using one of these add-ons. It's going to ask for information. This is actually fine because it's not downloading a bunch of data, which makes sense. So now we'll do Chicago style. That's fun. So this is my Zotero, and then I believe, oop, it's angry at me. Oof. I'll have to look at this a little bit more. I've already tested this, but it's not really working the way it did when I was actually running a test. So if there's any more questions, feel free to ask them. This webinar is being recorded and it will appear later. There's also some other videos out there that will show you sort of running through Google Docs, especially if there's specific things you're wanting to do. One thing I was going to mention, because we're talking a lot about like people needing to do resumes and stuff like that, is there's a really cool local resource. So I'm going to type in UN Omaha. Ooh. So you don't have to be a student to access the digital resources. You do need to be a student to access like career counseling, but they have a lot of cool digital resources, and some other colleges probably do too. I'm sure MCC stuff, but on their academic and career development thing, they have these resume cover letters. So they have these templates you can download that are really cool. So that template's been downloaded, and then I can go into my drive. I can actually just pull in this template. Now, these templates are designed primarily for college students, but you can really rework them for what you need them to be. And I can open it in Google Docs, and I have this template provided from a local university. So that can be really useful for a lot of you who are trying to develop your own resume. So I did see we got some questions. So if you use your computer at home, will it automatically be on your iPad? Yes, so the files are never actually stored on your devices unless you use something called offline mode. In offline mode, it will save a copy of the file to your devices, and it'll typically prompt you to do that. I'm trying to remember how you actually get it to do it by default. I think if I do Google Drive offline mode. So yeah, so it's going to be this answer right here, and I'm actually going to copy and paste this into our chat so other people have access to this. So if you want a physical copy of the file, like if you don't have internet access all the time, this can be useful for you, is using the working offline. So it's going to save a copy of the file, and it will just update when there's a new online copy of it, or when you get online, it'll sync those updates. I haven't used it a lot myself because I typically have access to the internet constantly, but not everyone has that. So this can be a really good feature for some folks, but otherwise when it's online, so if you have a file that you have on your computer at home, you can have it closed, you open it up on your iPad, it's the same, it's always auto-saving when it's online mode. Offline mode, it's a little weirder, so there might be some weird things it does, like let's say you edit it online, and then you have your offline one with its own edits and it syncs. I don't know what it'll do then if that happens, but I've never done that myself. So it just might be something to experiment around with and figure out what works for you. But yes, so you can edit the same file on your iPad and the computer at the same time. They don't have to be on because the file is stored to your email address, not to the devices, unless you use that offline mode. Okay, was there any more questions? We can answer a few more questions before 3. If there are no questions, that one is trying to load infinitely. So let me go here. So again, my name is Kana. If you want to contact us, I recommend emailing hello@gspace.org. And that's where, like, especially if you have longer questions or it's not during the hours that chat is available, that's what I would recommend. And then if you just go to our website and use that chat service in the bottom right, so 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., weekdays, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., weekends. And that's our typical hours. So we still have active hours while we are doing digital services and we don't have our building physically open for everyone. And then, so that's the best way to contact us, is either using the chat service during those times or emailing us at that email. Is there any final questions before we sort of get to ending the webinar? Absolutely. Someone thanked me for my time. As a staff person, I get paid to do this, and I'm really happy to help people. It's harder to do tech help and helping people learn stuff remotely, but I feel like we're doing a really great job. And this is sort of a basic software, but it's not basic for everyone. So I'm really happy to help people sort of learn some basics of this. And if people have more questions, feel free to email hello@gspace or use our chat service on our website. We definitely want to help our community as much as we can during this time, but also, like, when we do eventually reopen, which there's no specific time set for that yet, we we'll absolutely continue helping people, and we'll continue doing some of our digital services. So we're really excited for all that. So I think I've gotten some thank yous. I'm not seeing any questions. So I think we're actually good to go. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. The screen will be up for a bit, but you are good to head out. There'll be a recording eventually posted online. And thank you for coming in, asking questions. We love those questions. We love people engaging and learning. So yeah, thank you, everyone.